Welcome to the episode of the Warts Bus Podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, we are going to be breaking down the Best Picture race. First, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the movies that you need to know, the ones that you should be on the lookout for, ones that should be in the forefront of the conversation. And then, of course, we're going to talk about the films that we liked. And then we're going to give you our predictions and what we think the 10 films that are going to be nominated for Best Picture at the upcoming Academy Awards. As always, I am joined by my friend here, Mr. Benji. How are you, man?
Very good, thank you, mate. How are you?
I don't know. It's kind of weird. It looks like you're wearing the same exact thing as you wore in the last two podcasts. And I would really appreciate if you maybe able to change it up, or maybe this is just like your podcast sweater. You know what I mean?
This is podcast sweater. Oh, you'll be seeing me wear it a lot more. Trust me.
Oh, okay. It makes sense. All right. I wasn't sure if you just nipping the people in the home. They're like, oh, is this? I don't know if they thought maybe you were AI generated because I just bring you back every week and you have the same thing on. You know what I mean? So.
Well, Benji hasn't been on the podcast for a while. He actually tragically died in an airplane accident. But his presence lives on with this amazing AI generated version of himself, and I'm a very proud robot who gets to represent the legend that was Benji.
Jesus Christ, that got dark fast there. For those of you following at home, that being
people
said,
just in the car listening, like, what the fuck?
That being said, this Best Picture race, I don't think we have a true front runner. If you look at Best Picture across so many different places, there's so many different names. I do think that we have three films that are kind of in that conversation for what is number one, right? You know what I mean? We have The Brutalists, we have Anora, and then, of course, we have the surprise of everybody loving right now, and that's Conclave. You know what I mean? That movie's so bad, just talking about it almost put Benji to sleep over there. Did you guys not see that? You know what I mean? But that being said, there is a list of other films that we're going to talk about today, though, on that thing. So I'm just going to run down like we have done every week here. We're going to talk about the films that are in the know, the films that should be on the forefront of the conversation that we look at here. But before I do that, how do you feel about this Best Picture race?
I think the thing that I love about this Best Picture race, and you kind of labeled it so well, is that unlike other years where early on you kind of know where you stand in terms of the past 2 years, about 90% of people were predicting the same movie for number one for Best Picture. Whilst this year we have about a top 3, 4, maybe even 5 that could all kind of end up being number one at the end of the day. And that's what's super exciting to me. Even though it's always great to see great movies like Oppenheimer and Everything Everywhere get recognized and win Best Picture, it's so much more fun when you have that suspense behind it. So I'm really excited to see kind of how things pan out, and I'd love to see it if maybe we get different winners each award ceremony, and the PGA 10 is different to the Oscar 10, and Critics' Choice is wildly different to the Oscars, because that's the fun part about award season. It's just the complete unknown of it. I stole your joke.
Exactly. You know what I mean? You did steal my joke, and I'm not very happy because I was going to bring up a complete unknown and talk about how it's still unknown about the movie and whether it's going to be good or not. But that being said, one of the things that I do find fascinating, though, is that there are some people that are not. They're predicting that movie across so many different categories, but yet I've seen several people leave it out of their Best Picture conversation. You know what I mean? So it's definitely interesting to see that. But that being said, let's talk about some of the movies that you need to know. We already talked about 3 of the front runners there. Doom Part 2, Amelia Perez, Sing Sing, Nickel Boys, A Real Pain, Gladiator 2, Blitz, September 5th, A Complete Unknown, The Substance, Hard Truth, Baby Girl, I'm Still Here. Let's see here. What am I missing?
Nora.
Oh yeah, we are. I left out of Anora, Brutalist, and Conclave. Those are the 3 movies that I started off with there. See, guys, I just gotta listen. It's crazy when you have to deal with a guy that doesn't listen to you when you're talking on a podcast.
What can I say? I'm just so rude. I'm just so disinterested.
Oh, I love Benji, guys. We're just jabbering here. But when you look at this, is there a film? You know what? I look, I'm going to predict what Benji would say that's not in the conversation, that he would want in the conversation. It has to be We Live in Time, right? You know what I mean? That movie, yep. Benji has talked about for two consecutive podcasts here. and I'm not mad about it. We all have our films that we would love to see in the forefront. Mine's a Civil War, but because Doom Part 2 is the other movie. My Doom Part 2 is still my number one movie of the year. Like 170 some movies later, but I want to know, give me the three films kind of sitting on your outside looking in as we look at this top 10 that you can see sneaking into the top 10 here.
So my bottom 10 in the so you kind of asking my bottom 10 in the top 10?
No, yeah, just like so. We have the top 10. You have your top 10 locked in.
Yeah.
Who's 11, 12, and 13?
So my 13, 12, and 11 are Saturday Night, September 5th, and Gladiator 2.
What? Oh, you took Gladiator 2 out of your predictions. I like it. I'm definitely
did.
intrigued by that. What do you think of those three films kind of have the best opportunity to kind of over the next few weeks creep into that top 10 for you?
Even though I did leave it out because I'm still think that the reactions were overreacting. I haven't seen it, but just from general talk, that seems to be the consensus. However, if there is one that does have a shot, it is definitely Gladiator 2, and I wouldn't be surprised if I fast forward in time right now and saw that it did get Best Picture nomination. But compared to what I have seen and kind of what we already know a lot about and where we kind of know the general consensus sits from a lot of people, I'm still waiting to hear more about Gladiator 2 and see how its general appeal. Unlike how Top Gun Maverick, the campaign of that movie was just that, there was no real reason to get a nomination except from everybody loved it. So if Gladiator 2 has kind of a similar ish thing with people, then I'll put it in my top 10. But for now, I'm pretty happy leaving out and seeing where we go from there.
And of course, the one film that we're going to talk about that we might have a difference of opinion in a couple weeks is Wicked. Definitely a film again that I mentioned in the last podcast and the podcast before that I could not believe that we're actually talking about this film as a potential awards player. But it also fits that same bubble of what you said, Benji, right? We have the early conversations of the people that have seen it, and they're really great. But once you kind of start to see, I'm seeing it next Saturday, the 17th, I think it is. So once that second wave of people see the film, does it still hold that gravitas of being in the conversation? Because I'm starting to see it supporting. I'm starting to see it in lead actress. I'm starting to see it picture. Like, what are we? Maybe we're talking about costumes. Maybe we're talking production. Like, are we talking about 7 to 8 nominations, or are people just out of their mind? That's what I want to get out of the way. And I do think the next time we sit down and have these conversations, that's where we'll be at, right? We'll be at the conversation of like, all right, everything will have basically been seen. We won't have all the nominations quite yet, but we're definitely going to have the conversation here towards the end of November where we're going to start seeing whether or not these films are in the conversation, because we have the complete unknown of several different things. That movie, Nosferatu, it's apparently being screened tonight. As I saw somebody's posted that they're watching it tonight. So maybe there's no reaction time for that, but can there be some films that rank up there? But now I want to know 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. What do you got for us?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6. So starting from number 10 and working my way down to number 6. My number 10, call me a fanboy all you want, but as movies get whittled off, I think there's a story for it to be told, and I think it does have a campaign. It's The Substance. Number 9, I have Blitz. Number 8, and I'm very happy to say this, we have A Real Pain. Number 7, I've got Sing Sing. Number 6, I have Conclave.
Yeah, so I'm glad you have A Real Pain in there, because that's a movie that I've really starting to come around to that I think could be in the conversation. 6, 8, 10. And that to me is something that really makes me happy because it's a movie that I love immensely. So I definitely think it's in there. For me, the only reason I'm so cautiously optimistic. I didn't really put anything Wicked wise, as you guys heard over the last, few episodes we've done this since talking about Wicked. We haven't put that in the forefront of our conversations yet. I would like to see more things happen before I'm just jumping headfirst into that. So for me, I think the weakest of the 10 films, it comes in at number 10 for me, and that's Sing Sing, A Complete Unknown, a movie that I'm still confused about. Just because it's either going to be really good or it's going to be hot garbage. I don't think there's a medium. I don't think there's a medium for that movie. I think it's either going to be awards heavy or we're just gonna walk away with nothing. Gladiator 2 coming in at number 8. 7, I have A Real Pain. And then 6, I have Nickel Boys. I'm glad you said Real Pain. It made me feel really good about putting it in my 10 today.
I think it's a real good shot.
I do too, because I feel like there's at least, I think like Eisenberg could be maybe in that 7-8 range. He's maybe not in the 5. I put him in my 5 for now. I just feel like there's going to be a lot of love for that film, but like he's definitely in the conversation. But Culkin's in the conversation to potentially win. Screenplays there. Yeah.
When you actually whittle it down, when you look at something like A Real Pain or all these other movies, which are kind of a lot more heavy, have a lot more to tell. The advantage that A Real Pain has is that it's the only real movie out of this 10 where you can just watch it, enjoy it, and almost everybody that I know either really likes it or loves it. So when it comes down to being on people's ballots, on a lot of voters' lists, it's going to be somewhere there when they're voting for nominations. So for that reason alone, I think it has a real good chance. I don't think it's got any chance of like being a winning contender, maybe outside of potentially supporting actor or screenplay, which is a conversation for another episode. But just in terms of having the nomination, just sturdily sitting in there and being a part of that, I think is a perfectly fair thing to say. And I'm looking forward to potentially seeing it actually get in at the end of the day. I think it deserves it. I think for a directorial debut, it's very impressive. It's charming. It's easy to watch. It's just, looking at all these other movies, it's just nice to just have it there somewhere.
And it's such a breeze to watch. It's an hour 30. You know what I mean? Like when you're talking, if you compare that to The Brutalist, I mean, you can watch that movie almost 3 times. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
At the end of the day, I think that plays a factor into it. Like, and that's one of the things that I think people talk about. Like when you're looking at like The Brutalist, for me, where I find it hard to put it number 1 sometimes is just the pure fact of how long it is. Like how that plays a huge factor into so many different things. Not saying not long movies haven't won things. I'm not saying that, but at the end of the day, when you're binge watching all the things that you have to, like I am right now, I need The Brutalist on the big screen, because if I don't see The Brutalist on the big screen, I'm watching it at my house. And it's like, am I going to watch it as like a 10-part miniseries? Maybe, you know what I mean? Like, who knows? But it definitely plays a factor. And I played a factor in me seeing Killers of Flower Moon. I didn't get a chance to see Killers of Flower Moon on the big screen. So because of that, I saw it on my home at TV, and I paused a few times because I was bored. But like, if you put me on a screen at home in the theater, I have to be invested. I'm going to invest my time into that. But I love A Real Pain, a crisp watch. 5 through 1. 5 through 1. Let's see. What do I got? 5 through 1. I've got Emilia Perez coming in at number 5. I've got Dune Part 2 at 4. I've got The Brutalist coming in at number 3. I've got Conclave coming in at number 2. And I've got Anora number 1 for now. I don't feel confident. I just feel like those 3 films are in the conversation to win. And you could really line those out 1, 2, 3, however the hell you want to. And that's kind of how it's going to play out right now for today, for the next, until the next time we podcast and something else became the front runner. But yeah, what about you? Give me your 5 through 1 right there.
So a lot of the movies you mentioned are actually within my top 5. However, they're in actually almost completely different orders. But like yourself, my 1 to 3, it could be anywhere and I'd still just be just as happy with the list. So my number 5 is Nickel Boys. I really think people need to stop underestimating Nickel Boys. Whilst I appreciate it could potentially fall off the radar at the end of the day, it also has the opportunity to get in and picture, director, supporting actress, potentially leading actress, screenplay, cinematography, editing, sound. It could have a real good package. So to say they could have all of that and then not say it's a top 5 contender would be silly, in my opinion. My number 4 is also Dune Part 2. Number 3 is Emilia Perez. My number 2 is Nora. And despite the fact it's the only movie in my top 10 that I haven't seen yet, I've got The Brutalist at number 1.
Yeah, it's you really kind of comes at the end of the day of like this balance of trying to figure out the which is which of the whole scenario. You know what I mean? Like that to me is definitely, having that conversation of like which one of these movies, and Brutalist is a film. I still think, again, very early in that conversation of trying to figure out how serious that of a contender it is, because people are, I've seen people say, "Oh, it's the greatest movie of the last decade," and we get at least 7 or 8 of those every year. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me, it's something that's going to be interesting to talk about. But yeah, so we talk about Best Picture. I want to put you on the spot and ask you right now, November 7th, 2024. It might already be November 8th where you're at, but that being said, what do you think the number one? I want you to tell me who's going to win picture, actor, actress, lead, supporting, and supporting. You're gonna tell me right now. I'm gonna put you on the spot right here, right now.
It's funny because even though I have all these movies in like different orders, if I was to put something for best picture, I'd almost have to at least consider putting it in for best director. As of right now, without really putting that much thought into it, just looking at my top five and just kind of like just doing the maths in it without any sort of precursors to go with it, without even having Golden Globe nominations. As of here, right now, today, best picture, I'm going to stick with The Brutalist. And because of that, I'm also going to put The Brutalist in for best director. Leading actress, I'm going to be different. I'm going to go Carla Sofia Gascon for Emilia Perez. Leading actor, I haven't even seen the movie, but I'm going to go with Adrian Brody for The Brutalist.
And what about supporting actor and actress?
Supporting actor and actress, I really think both categories are anybody's game. Game, game. So for now, supporting actress, I'm not trying to follow the crowd, but I do think Zoe Saldana has the best case to make at the moment. Then supporting actor, if you wouldn't believe I haven't seen the film, you'd think I'm a fanboy. I'm going to go Guy Pearce for The Brutalist.
I like it. If you put a gun to my head right now, I'm going to say supporting actress. I'm with you, Zoe Saldana. That's who I'm predicting right now. I definitely feel like I agree with you a lot there with The Brutalist, because even like Felicity Jones kind of scares you a little bit with The Brutalist. Cause like, could it be like that clean sweep, which would be definitely an interesting and dominating of the actors. Supporting, I'm just gonna go out on a small. I'm gonna throw out the rail here. I'm gonna predict Kieran Culkin's gonna win for A Real Pain. I just like
it's a good risky pick that could pay off.
Yeah, and the thing about it is I think people forget how liked he is. You know what I mean? Like Succession was not that far ago. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't. So like that's going to be in people's brain. I think he has a strong chance at winning SAG. I really, really do. I think that he has a battle there with probably Denzel. You know what I mean? Because it's Denzel type of thing. So like it's definitely interesting you're battling against Denzel. But I'm gonna go Culkin right now. I'm with you on director right now. I think Corbet wins for The Brutalist. I do think that's the same boats that I'm in. Actress, I'm gonna go Angelina Jolie right now for Maria. Just because I want to be different from you and I want to be different from Mikey Madsen. So that's where I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Angelina Jolie making a second time winner and winning the Oscar for the first time for Lorraine, because he's actually 0 for 2 for wins. I think the third one's maybe a charm for him. For actor, I would love to predict anybody else, but I'm with you. If you told me bet some money, I'm betting money on Adrian Brody, 100%. Like it just is. And for picture, I'm gonna say I know what my number one is. I know I said Honora's number one, but I'm with you. I can't bet against The Brutalist right now. So that's what our predictions were. So if any of them are right, I'm gonna screen cap and be like, November 7th, I said this and this, and
I'll do the same happily. So let's see where.
But if we're wrong, you'll never hear this ever. You'll never hear about this ever
never.
again. So.
This podcast never happened.
Well, Benji, this was fun. This wraps up our first set of the Awards Buzz podcast as we shift into the award season. The next time Benji and I are talking, we're talking in depth. We're talking movies have been seen. Maybe the complete unknown is no longer a complete unknown. Maybe there's movies that are going to be surprising to us. Maybe that there's some shifts.
Maybe we've seen The Brutalist.
Maybe we've seen The Brutalist and it's still probably our number one across the board. Who knows? You know what I mean? But between now and then, I'm very, very excited. Benji, it's been great having you. I look forward to us reuniting in the very near future to talk more about the Oscar season, man.
Been a pleasure. Thank you very much, sir.